Welcome. Brad's house. Nothing special. Just another dump in Long Beach. You know, I call home. Welcome back, you guys, to another episode at Brad's Garage. And today's episode, like we always say in the YouTubers world, is sponsored by eBay Motors. So thank you, eBay Motors, for helping us out and getting us started. You guys should all go out and check that place out. I'm currently looking right now at our next project because I'm not going to announce it now because we all know we're working on the Tacoma, but I'm actually looking through the eBay Motors for pricing. I'm actually trying to figure out what area it is to buy it in because, as you guys might know, when you're buying things, at least in the United States it is like this. California is kind of expensive. Nevada is not so expensive. Arizona isn't so expensive. And then if you go to the East Coast, the cars are rusted. So you really don't want the cars there. With eBay Motors, it's giving me the option to choose where I want to search. So instead of just searching locally, I've been searching a lot of places. And for our next build, I've been searching in Nevada and Arizona. It gives me a lot more places to find what I'm looking for and for cheaper. We're going to be driving to Lake Havasu, Arizona, or somewhere in that area to be buying our next build. But anyways, eBay Motors, thank you guys for joining us and partnering up. And we have a lot more stuff to go over. So today, we needed to order parts. The truck isn't going to be put together by nothing alone. So the first thing I need to get squared away is the motor. I have 3 5.3 liter motors sitting around right now. They're just blocks, they're just sitting there. So my goal is to build probably all 3 of those into complete motors, and they're all probably going to be exactly the same. They're going to be a 4-inch crank with a 3.85 piston on a standard 6.125 rod. So there's my secret sauce. That's the numbers. That's the motors I'm going to be building. I'm going to be putting 3 of those motors together. One of them for the truck, one of them for the T-bucket because we're going to Texas Y2K, and then the third motor will be actually the motor for the project that's coming up next month. So you're going to see us build 3 LS motors here real shortly, and the parts that I got to order I have right here, and I'm actually going to eBay to do the orders. So I'm going to order a 4-inch stroke crank, again 3.895 piston on a 6.125 rod, and I'm running standard bearings because the cases are actually pretty good. That bore is an over bore for a 5.3, so I have plenty of cleanup. I'm going to get 3 Millings high volume pumps. I love the Millings oil pumps, so I'm going to order 3 of those. I'm also going to get cam bearings, rod bearings, and main bearings. I prefer King Bearing. They're the company that we're going to use. I've reached out to them, so you'll notice in our partners, King Bearing is now a partner of ours, and they hooked us up, so thank you, King Bearing. We're also going to get the trunnion kit for these. So if you know LS motors, they have rocker arms that have little bearings or trunnion bearings in them. We're going to get 3 sets of trunnion bearing kits. In fact, I think I'm going to get 2 sets of trunnion bearing kits, and I'm going to get a set of ratio rockers and mess with a set of ratio rockers on one of these motors again. I had a set before, but I wasn't very familiar, I wasn't very a fan of them, and I don't think I adjusted them right, so I'm going to go at attempt number 2 at them. And I damaged the first set. It was, I believe, in the second motor that you see on the Hoonigans. I believe it was the New Year's burnout. I ended up throwing those rockers and had to replace them. I'm also going to order a set of heads. I normally run stock ported heads. I'm going to actually order a set of dart heads. That's like a manufacturer that I believe in and has really good casting, so that I have a good set of casting heads. Now, what motor, what heads end up on where, I don't know. We'll find out when that comes down. But we're also going to get some valve covers and oil pans. I only have 1 good oil pan right now. So I think I'm going to order 2 more oil pans so that we have 3 complete motors. Basically, heads, pistons, rods, cams, blocks, like complete motors. Now, as well as my secret sauce, ARP. We are going to do the motor with the ARP studs. Basically, all of them will have ARP head studs and ARP exhaust bolts. I don't need the ARP main cat bolts because LS's are pretty good and pretty strong. I'm gonna order new main cat bolts, but not ARP studs. The rods that we're ordering are H-beam, and those rods that we order are H-beam come with ARP hardware. So we don't have to worry about the rod bolts. They're also already good. So that's the motor. As you can see, Tacoma motor. To give you an idea of what this costs, each motor's internal parts, pistons, rods, main bearings, oil pump, cam, timing chain, basically studs and gaskets is $2,200. So I'll put that in part of the build stuff, but that's not even like, I'm not a sponsored price. That is what you can pay for. You can go online and get that. It's $2,200 for that hardware. And then I'll show you guys how hard it is to put it together. So that's not out of the realm of anybody finding those parts. In fact, I've found these same kits for about $1,800. But the kit that I spec'd out, the one that I chose with the parts that I want, was $2,200 bucks. What else do we got going on here? So the King bearing kit that I used, I'm using an expensive kit. King bearing offers two different styles. They offer a regular and they offer an XP, which is like their more race series bearings. We're gonna go ahead and put race bearings in all of this motor. Is one better than the other? I'm not going to argue either way. They're both great. In fact, all the bearings for these motors are really good. I also need to find an EFI kit. We're going to reach out to a few companies and see what EFI kit we're going to go with. We haven't made that decision just right yet, but we are looking for a simple plug-and-play EFI kit for the truck. I also need to find tires because the tires are dry rotted. They literally are not going to go around. So before we put it out on the road, we got to find tires. Now, we already reached out to our torque converter guy. You guys all know TCS torque converters. They're the people that helped us out with the S10. They've helped us out with the T-bucket. They helped us out with the old rat rod. And now they're actually helping us out with the Tacoma. What's so funny is they've already sent us the badass torque converter. We have it here. We're not going to show it to you guys yet, but it's here, and we're going to do that in an unboxing. Another great person is Durrell Coolers. Durrell Coolers reached out, offered us their hands. We've got them sending us a transmission cooler and a power steering cooler. And I've had a hell of a time with power steering in this truck. Today, when we go out and we mock up the motor, I'm going to go over the steering shaft issue that I had about getting it over and off to the side and problems I had with the steering shaft, and hopefully a solution to what the steering shaft problem is today. So let's go outside now and get the motor and the tranny mocked up, because I believe we're going to need to add a few more things to this list and get those things all ordered today. Everybody say hi to CPR. Check out their link. CPR is the guys that are doing a machine shop. Thank you guys. Again, great partners. Let's get to work. Bad part is where the truck is, it's on a bump. So it's going to suck lifting this in and out, but so I only have to go in and out one. But the bigger thing is on this truck, I have to take the front tires off. Because the truck's so high, we have to pull the front tires off and then set it on the axle just to do it. Get out of here, guys. I don't need your help. The dogs are like kids today. They want to be internet famous. Especially Abby. She's a camera hoe. Huh. You want to be on the internet? Huh? You want to be the next internet famous dog? You want to be Mochi? Oh, you want to be the Mochi dog? Like I was saying before, this steering was an issue. And the reason why the issue is the steering is because of the joint placement. Joint placement, you guys are going to love that one. And that is because, and we can find a drive shaft right here. This is why. So this drive shaft, if you look, see how it has a hard joint right here and a hard joint right here? This is a hard joint. And this is a swivel, or whatever, a swivel joint. See how the hard joints are aligned? like straight down like that, and the swivel joints are aligned straight down like that. If this joint was to be cockeyed just a little bit, you get some kind of crazy vibration, and it's bad. So the joints have to be actually aligned. Hard joints, soft joints. Now, if you look at this one, if you look at this steering joint, this joint here, and you look at this joint here, look at where the hard joint is. If you draw a straight line straight down, it's right here. So this piece here, right, should be in line with this piece here. And because it's not, it's giving the steering a funky feeling and a wobble. And this joint here is maxed out. So this joint here has no angle on it at all, and this joint here is on its max angle. So the steering worked, it was fine. It just had a little weird, and I couldn't figure out why, and that's why it was. Now this truck drove 70, 80 miles an hour, and it worked. But all that steering that I felt was because of that joint problem, and I figured that out in the Crazy Carts video, because I was moving the steering on the Crazy Carts, and I figured out the whole joint issue. What's funny is everybody's gonna talk shit about these hubs. And my cheap Harbor Freight electric impact. So I don't like air impact because I actually have one and I have a compressor, because I hate hearing the compressor run, and I hate the electric stuff's really good these days. I'm cool. I'm just too cheap to buy the good stuff. And back on this thing, when I built these axles, I was on a somewhat limited budget, and I used the parts that I could afford. I used Yukon inners and outers, and I believe they're 40 spline, and then I used really shitty hubs. And the reason why I use shitty hubs is because I always think there's a fuse. The fuse is a part that can break, or the part that will break, and that's easier or cheaper to afford. Warren makes a really nice hub, and these hubs here are like, I don't even know what they are, Selectros or whatever. They're practically plastic. And every time I've ever put the truck in a position where it was gonna break the axles or the wheels, I broke a hub. So, and I carry extra ones, and they're cheap. Now, as you can tell, these wheels are flipping heavy. I would love to get some aluminum bead locks, because I can't even pick these things up anymore, but they keep it planted on the ground. They're cool. See the bead locks? 37s. Cracked to hell for being so old. Oh my gosh, we need tires. Anyway, so these hubs are the cheap part. And when we get it into a position where it's binding on this front end and it's gonna break something, it breaks this hub. And all you do is you take these Allen wrenches off. You don't even take the wheel off. You take the Allen wrenches off, knock this, and they stay good is because I put anti-seize. That's a trip. I actually remember to put, see all the anti-seize? That's that gray stuff on all these bolts. That's because we've been going to the canyon. We have a Zusa Canyon. It's this mud place up here. This saves parts. Look, there's a chunk of it. That's the, yeah, that gets everywhere. What's sad now is I broke so many of the cheap hubs doing it, and I think it's usually the passenger side. It's a short side. Yeah, this side. The short side is what I break all the time. This one doesn't even match. It's not even the same hub. Look at that. Somewhere I could go dig up right now, probably like 3 or 4 more of these hubs. So we're gonna, before we put it on the trail, we're gonna put a brand new set of good hubs on it. Hopefully we're gonna get a set of aluminum bead locks, some 42-inch tires, and possibly some new shocks.
What do you mean?
They're fine, huh?
They're brand new.
Need a new engine hoist too. Pretty certain this thing's probably as old as most of the kids watching. Alright, so there we go. See how it slides in and out? But you gotta be careful, you get it too low, it'll hit the feet. So we're like 1 2x4. We could still go 1 2x4 down, but we'll just leave it like there because we can still get it in. It's high enough. It's a trick. That's what's working on this big ass truck. And my dumb ass didn't make this removable. Had I made this removable, it'd slide right in. Literally slide right in. But, as you can tell, this was my beginning days of welding, which are still around, because I'm still a beginner welder. So here's another aluminum and another cast iron block, 5.3s. We're going to probably use that one as mock-up. It's got a crank, pistons, and rods still in it. So we'll bolt it up there and mock it up to that transmission. That's a Turbo 400. This is actually a badass tranny. It's a great Turbo 400, and we broke the bell housing on it. If you go back, this is the one that we broke the bell housing for putting it in, going in the parking lot. I used to have a mock-up tranny. Oh, I still do. Oh, we're good. We don't even need to use that one. The only reason we're using this one is because it's lighter, but this is the same tranny as that. This is this. Bada bing, bada boom. That's the same tranny. So, we'll use this just to get idea of placement, and then when we're finally putting it in, we'll put this one in, but this makes it a lot lighter. I'm just gonna pick it up. You know, like Vargas does the RX-7 motors. Yeah, you know, it's not light. I want to say the aluminum one is 379 or 380, and the cast iron, this is block only, no pistons, rods, or crank, is something in the 400s, 460 or something. There's almost 200, I think, pounds difference between the cast iron and the aluminum. The only difference is the expansion ratio on the aluminum is different, and the sleeve difference, the sleeve thicknesses, which is when they talk about sleeve, if you look, this is real easy to tell because this is aluminum and this is cast iron. You can see that's the sleeve. Everybody talks about the sleeve and the sleeve thickness. This is a sleeve. This is actually, there's a cut there. They can press this in and press this out and replace the sleeve. This one's harder to tell because this is cast iron, but there's actually a sleeve in there too. It's a little discolored. The sleeves are hardened. Why you have a sleeve in here is because when they cast this block, casting is like powder poured into a mold, then the mold, it's actually liquid molten, poured into it. It's hard, but it's not that strong. And then they make these out of billet, and it's a lot stronger, and they usually have coatings on them and hardening processes involved in the sleeve, and that's where the combustion's taking place. And it's just safer to have you cast the block and you put a sleeve in. A lot of problems that you have with sleeves though is they drop, they get pushed down or whatever, and that's partially due to the process of putting them in. So you got to have a professional machine shop replace your sleeves and done right. Alright, so now we need to put it in there. Get an idea where our motor mounts are going to go, how the motor mounts are going to. I would love to see this 4-bolt thing right here, which is the factory motor mount, line up with the Toyota mounts somewhere close, because the Toyota cushion mounts are in right now, and I would love to leave those cushion mounts exactly where they are. So I should just drop it on the ground for good measures for like Jones' car.
No.
Yeah! Look how heavy that was. That was nice, huh? Just shove it right through the windshield. Perfect! It's almost done. A little bit longer and we're done. We'll have her in here. Hold on. Like, be careful. No! We're not going to be careful with this car. This is not a be careful car, okay, you guys? I'm telling you that right now. This is a not be careful truck. Oh, almost there. Oh, fucking perfect! That's how you do it. Go in there. go is like right there. Just right there. Just sit down. That's where I need to be. God, it's just sitting at home right there. I like everything about that. So, this is my coral. Let me see if I can get a strap, because we got to build these mounts to where this is at. So give me an idea of where it's at right now. So it can come up a few inches, I guess, in the back, and then I'll lift up the front. I can put a 2x4 underneath the back and get the back to almost touch the deal. But the bigger thing is, like, the plane that's up there has got to be planed with 0 here, and right now the motor's sitting like, the truck's sitting like this, and the motor's sitting like that. See what I'm saying? So now we gotta make it, or bring the front of the truck up. Right there. So this is actually center line of my truck. The trailer reach in the center. So I'm just eyeballing it right now, trying to get this bolt lined up center line with the trailer hitch. And then I think we're gonna go up just a little bit more, up a little bit, so that if you look back here, I can grab this. We're filling this area in right here, but I'm not having to modify any of that for the tunnel housing. It's gonna be fine. And if you look at where the position of the pulley is, that'll be fine because of spacing. This is the factory Toyota radiator that we're gonna use. And the reason why I'm using a factory Toyota radiator is because you can get them everywhere. You can get them at AutoZone, you can get them everywhere. It's not like this motor needs some giant radiator. This is what it needs. It'll be fine with this. Yep, that's gonna go back. So, already I figured out that we are too far forward because this, or we get a different radiator. This sat in here before. It sat basically further forward, so this would have to go like that, which is fine. We can go back. Let's try to see this thing, set this rad zone, always in stock. These are universal aluminum radiators, and that looks probably like what we're gonna have to do. So let's add that to the list. Is an aftermarket aluminum radiator. Cool thing about this is now I can get these wherever I want. So I can get these on this side, which is where the LS is on that side. This is for the small block Chevy, so it's for that truck over there. But it's actually mine that he's got to pay for. But anyways, this is why we're trying things. Like in my head I thought, oh, I could get away with using a factory radiator, so if it ever fucked up or if it ever messed up, I could go to AutoZone and get one. So if anybody needs a factory 07 Tacoma radiator, hit me up. Probably pay for shipping, I can send it to you. I think I'm gonna take, these are body spacers that I had. I'm gonna cut these in half like this so that the bolt can go, the nut can go down inside here. Set these on the original mounts right there, and then make a plate right here, and then bring a tube from here to the plate. And that's it. Done deal. That's the magic spot right there. So probably just cut these open first and set them on there and see how that looks first. So that is the bolt pattern for the motor mounts. That's going to be our motor mounts. Some configuration of this. So we're only going to use half the cup so that we can put the nut on. But this will slide on like this. See, like that. And we can put the nut down in there. The nut down in there. You gotta put the nut down in the hole. And then we have a place to weld to, because this is all metal, off the side of this to the mount. And so if we put a mount here, we can just put a straight piece of plate. Straight piece of plate. So the idea is this mount's going down like this, and this mount's going up like this, right? So we have here to here. And what we have to create between there is a piece of chunk of steel, which could be, I'm not saying this is a piece, but let's just say that we're going from here to here, right? We've got to basically put a piece of steel in between here to get from there to there. Now I'm not going to do that. I want to use tube. We have some tubing, and we'll notch a piece of 1-inch tubing and fit it from there to there. This is real thick tubing, and what we'll do is we'll put a 45 here and a 45 here, and then set it in there and weld it up, and that'll be our. This is stupid thing. I don't even know what I used that for. Oh no, this was your
My
weld practice.
This
This is your practice welds. That's what this is for. Here we go. All we need is a chunk. The 45 is going to be like this. Like that. And then this side, we've got to figure out what, so this is on the truck and this is on the motor. This is going to go like this. We got to figure out how we want to get that to that. We're going to have to make this angle and then weld it. I'm going to start with one side and see if I'm happy with the way everything's sitting, and then we'll go to the other side. Now what I did notice, and I don't know if I want to put, but on the other mounts, there's like a little notch. So I don't know if I should just drill the hole here or just knock the notch off. I'm kind of wondering what I want to do. So there's a little centering notch. If you look on the other side, it's there. It's a little piece that pokes up. It's just for the mounts. I'm just going to take it off. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, so the idea now would be, so we make the other side, and we got to make these pieces the same size, so that when these go under here, they're the exact same size on both sides, and that means the motor's middle, or I'm sorry, the motor's in the middle. Something like that is what I'm thinking. So let's try to copy this on the other side, then we can put some tack welds on this, and go from there, but how good does that look so far? Alright, round two. So one side we're happy with. The goal would to be cut another one of these out of that, exactly the same, and in theory, if they're in the same position, they're going to be equally centered. We'll see. So this one, they both need to have the bolts on them. That's fine. They need the nuts. Hold them centering. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that for now. I'm going to call that a win for the day, because right now I need to find hardware. I need to find hardware for that, so I am going to locate the hardware for that, but I am liking those motor mounts. Today, mocked up the motor, gonna get the hardware for the nuts, gonna get some heads so that we can put the heads on and the intake manifold to find out where that sits. If we have them sitting right there, we can just slap them on there, but first I want to get these things holding the engine up and then we'll work on a cross member. The cross member actually looks pretty easy because it's not too far. It's not too far away from where it needs to go. So if you look underneath here, this is the original cross member. It bolts in here, bolts in here. This is where the mount is right here. So we got to cut all this nastiness off and bolt that. And then we've got to build a drive shaft from here to there, because this is the drive shaft. And ooh, I remember all this linkage got screwed up last time. We need a linkage. We need a linkage kit. See the linkage? Oh man, forgot about that. Look at that mount. Back in the day. And that mount. We might be redoing some of these mounts. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and make sure to talk shit. Comment below. Thank you guys for all the partners. eBay Motors, you're awesome. Durrell Coolers, Motion Race Works, all you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And more back at you.